Okay, so it's been almost 2 months since Mario Kart World was released back in June 5th, and, the game has sold over 2,000,000 copies in terms of sales since its release, and honestly, that's not bad, but I feel like Mario Kart World should have sold more than it did considering the fact that this is a game that people have waited about a decade to see, because the original Mario Kart 8 game came out back in 2014. 8 Deluxe, which is pretty much an expansion of Mario Kart 8, came out on the Switch console back in 2017. And that just so happened to be Nintendo's best selling entry within the Mario Kart franchise. And because of that, a lot of people had like really, really high expectations for Mario Kart World. Myself, I honestly felt like within its first month or so, like it would have done like at least 5 mil in terms of sales. But I feel like the updates that Nintendo had made to Mario Kart World recently is something that has it's hurt the overall quality of the game because obviously a lot of people know about Nintendo making a change in the whole online racing mechanic because they want people to focus more on intermission tracks than they do traditional 3 lap, races and stuff like that. And I feel like that change is something that Nintendo has not covered from. It's something that Mario Kart World has not recovered from. And don't get me wrong, the rest of the game is dope, even though some people would probably prefer like the level designs of, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. But aside from that, I still feel like every other thing about the game is cool, like the character designs, the new features, the fact that Grand Prix has you race against, more characters, that's more competitive and more challenging in that aspect. But at the same time, you know, Nintendo took away something people liked in Mario Kart World, and honestly, they began a ton of backlash on it in various online gaming forums, on Reddit, and everything else. And um, I'm not exactly sure whether or not this is something that's gonna eventually hurt the game overall in terms of sales. But at the same time, it's hard to see Mario Kart World outselling, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe like within the next couple of years or so. Because I remember when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe came out, it was really big. No one really had anything bad to say about it other than the fact that it was overrated. And you look at the sales for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they're absolutely insane. And it hasn't even like been a decade, like since like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe has been released, and it's sold like 68 million units. You know what I mean? It hasn't even been a decade because that game came out in 2017. It's now 2015. And it seems like Mario Kart World is kind of getting off to a poor start because I feel like a game that's been hyped for damn near a decade should have did at least 5 mil or whatever within its first month of being released. And and yeah, I mean, I feel like Nintendo has done a lot of things that piss a lot of people off over the past couple of years or so. One involves like the Power World controversy. That's something that made Nintendo look very petty, and it's something that the gaming community was upset about because a lot of people like Power World. It started making millions, started blowing up in terms of popularity, but it was that claim that Power World was too identical to Pokemon, and it. I mean, obviously, Power World drew inspiration from Pokemon, but I don't know if they flat out stole like designs from certain creatures or anything like that. And then there's that controversy with Nintendo fighting against piracy, and a lot of people go on record and tell you that piracy is illegal. But at the same time, it's something that people did constantly, and something Nintendo was against because my guess is that the people who were pirating games and stuff like that, they were making money off of it in some way, and they were getting like certain websites shut down, and they were sending cease and desist letters and stuff like that, and it's something that made Nintendo look really petty and really bad. Even if like the people who were pirating like their older games, even if it was illegal, it just didn't make them look good at all. And then you got the whole thing with Nintendo breaking people's consoles if they try to pirate games. So basically, you could pay like you know anywhere between like 300 to $450 for a Switch console. And I guess like if you get caught pirating a game or you're suspected of piracy, Nintendo can brick your console and you can't play it anymore. You can't use it. So it's basically useless. You can't sell it. You can't do anything with it. And that's something that Nintendo's gotten a lot of flack for as well. So I think I think like the poor sales with Mario Kart World is kind of reflecting the controversies that Nintendo has been involved with. But at the same time, it's like, it hasn't even been 6 months since Mario Kart World has been out. And I can see the game possibly, selling more, at least 5 mil before the year ends, because during the holiday seasons, like especially like Black Friday, it's like people try to buy things for cheap. So it's quite possible that sales might skyrocket around that time or right before Christmas because it's something that people are going to have on their Christmas list. Or maybe it's one of those deals where the tariffs that we have, that we're going to get like in the near future can have a negative impact on the Switch console and Mario Kart World and people's ability to buy the game or to buy the console and I guess the overall sales of Mario Kart World in general. But yeah, I feel like there's just a lot of different factors that contribute to Mario Kart World not selling as much as it should have because obviously, the Mario Kart franchise is one of Nintendo's most popular IPs. Anything that has like Mario in it that Nintendo makes is something that ends up doing really, really well in terms of overall sales. But but yeah, I mean, I feel like the Switch 2 for the most part, it's slightly like the original Switch console, but different. So I guess people look at that and they see like, oh, there's not much that has changed except for a few minor things, and it's slightly more expensive than the original. And obviously so because the cost of gaming is starting to, go up because the cost of living is going up and the economy is bad and all that other stuff. So I feel like, all the things I've mentioned have all, played a hand in as to why Mario Kart World has not sold more. But at the same time, it might be a little too soon to say that it's underperforming because, like I said, it hasn't even been like 6 months, it hasn't even been a year yet. So, I mean, we'd have to wait and see, you know, maybe sometime around mid or like the end of 2026 how well Mario Kart World has done in terms of sales before we, I guess, reach a final verdict in terms of whether or not it's underperformed. And a new game selling slightly over 2 mil nowadays is actually considered to be decent. That's kind of like the new norm, unless it's like Call of Duty or what have you. And even then, it's like, Call of Duty Black Ops 6. I don't even know, like, I don't even remember how well that did. I feel like that game probably should have sold more than it did because I remember the older Call of Duty Black Ops games, they would do like 10 mil in sales within a couple of months and what have you. It just like they would just go flying off the shelves like crazy. But back in the day, the cost of gaming was a lot less expensive, and a lot of people feel like the older Call of Duty games, especially the Black Ops titles, were a lot better. But it really depends on who you ask, so the whole thing is subjective. But but yeah, I mean, I feel like quality wise, Mario Kart World is a step up from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's just that when it comes to online gaming, it's something that Nintendo hasn't really been too big on. You know what I mean? Like Nintendo is not on the same level as Xbox or PlayStation when it comes to online multiplayer gameplay and stuff like that. So I don't know. I guess they can see this whole thing with the update and them changing the random track selection as a learning experience because obviously what you want to do is you want to keep to keep customers coming back for more. You want them to buy your product, you want them to enjoy what you put out. You don't want to do the opposite and make modifications to features that they like and then try to force something new on them because that's just going to push people away, and then ultimately it's going to get a bad rep on the internet and on Reddit and all that stuff. And before you know it, it's going to negatively affect sales. But as far as Mario Kart World is concerned, yeah, it's too soon to tell whether or not it's underperforming. Do I see it surpassing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? I really do not know. I really don't know. I feel like that game set the bar way too high on a commercial level, and yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't see Mario Kart World, selling nearly as much of that. If Mario Kart World sold at least half of that, I would probably consider it a success or what have you. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't get my hopes up because I feel like this game has gotten like a significant amount of backlash and it hasn't even been like a year since it's been out. So hopefully, like Nintendo will make updates and try to patch things up in a way where they make the gaming experience more enjoyable for players. Hopefully, we'll get some cool like DLC characters later down the line that will um that will add to the overall quality of the game itself. But but yeah, obviously, sales are going to increase as time goes by, but it's way too soon to see or to tell like how well this game is going to do within the next couple of years or so. I don't see this game doing like 10 mil, before the end of 2026. And, I could be wrong about that, but, if we keep getting updates like the one Nintendo game, Mario Kart World, recently, then it's definitely not going to do 10 mil before the end of 2026.